Hey y'all, so we are on day like 107 of the snowdemic. We had a 27-hour rolling blackout in our house. Lights are back on, water's hot, we're gonna be okay. But I want to talk today about what some of our families are experiencing, specifically our adopted families. So if you're parenting kids who are adopted, who have big trauma, there may be a whole extra layer of struggle as we walk through this incredibly challenging time. And that's because everything that's happening is really triggering for our kids. So there's a couple of different ways that our kids are being triggered right now. The first of those is parental stress. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, I've been stressed, y'all join the club. Everybody's stressed right now. We don't know how to handle this weather. We've got all sorts of stuff happening. We don't know how to keep our kids warm and how to keep food in the house and all of these things. This is really stressful. That's normal. The challenge is that for some of our kids, they've witnessed and they've experienced times when parents being stressed was very dangerous for them. And their brains are created in a way that when they see that, they go right back into that survival space and they start trying to figure out, how do I stay alive? How do I keep my siblings alive? How do I get us to a spot where we're okay even though mom or dad is really stressed? Okay? And you might be seeing that play out in your house as either kids trying to make everything be okay, or maybe they're starting other chaos, or maybe they're having meltdowns. They might even be having some flashbacks, y'all, because this is big for them. The other thing that's really triggering for some of our kids that we can kind of forget about sometimes is that there's a lot about what's happening this week that can be similar to some of their trauma. So they might respond to you saying, I can't turn the oven on, so I can't cook. And ooh, that puts them right back in that space where they were hungry. Maybe it's cold in your house right now and you're doing everything you can, of course, to keep everybody safe and as warm as possible. But maybe they remember times when they were really cold, or maybe they didn't have electricity. Maybe they were in an orphanage. Maybe they grew up in a car, right? And all of these things that are happening right now, oh, it just primes that trauma. It puts them right back in that space. And so we want to be cognitive of that. If we're seeing big behaviors, if we're seeing all this uptick in trauma activity, in flashbacks, in meltdowns, that, oh, this is what's happening. They're going back in that space. And even though we know that we're going to keep them safe, their brains do not. So since we know that, there's a couple of things we want to do. We want to give age-appropriate honesty as much as possible. Here's the situation, here's what we're dealing with, here's what we're going to do about it. We want to talk specifically about whatever it is that they are really worried about. Okay, buddy, you're worried that we're not going to have food. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to do this to cook. We're going to cook on the grill if that's what we have to do. If we run out of food, we're going to go to grandma's house. Here's these 7 different options that we have, because I'm your mom now and I'm never going to let you go hungry. That doesn't happen in this house. We want to model coping skills. And so when we start to get really stressed, we want to say this out loud. You know what? I'm getting really overwhelmed right now. I'm going to do my breathing exercises. Hey guys, can y'all do those breathing exercises with me? Let's just all do that together. Right? So we're showing them, you're right to be stressed. Hey, but we don't have to stay in that stress. We don't have to stay in that trauma. Here's what exactly we're going to do about it. And it's going to make it better. Okay? And then we're going to really focus on connection as much as we can. Now, please don't be out there trying to be all Pinterest perfect. This is not the time to be all like cute and spectacular. We're going to go real basic. We're going to play some games. We're going to do a puzzle. In our house, we've been reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe because it seems really appropriate to read about the winter that never ends but doesn't ever quite get to Christmas. But we're going to do those kind of things that just bring everybody together, keep us grounded, keep us centered, and pull and bring that connection better, even though things are really hard. We want to have some really explicit conversations with our kids right now too, okay? So even though things are dangerous, we're going to explicitly say, you are safe. I will not let anything happen to you. This is scary. This is uncomfortable. But buddy, you're safe. You might also say, if your kids, especially if your kids were removed because of neglect, we might explicitly say, you are not going anywhere. We are still a family. This is why this is different. This is what we're going to do to get us into a better spot. But we are still family, and you are not going anywhere. Some of your kids may not be in the spot where they're able to tell you, hey, here's what's happening in my head. Here's what I'm really afraid of. But we want to anticipate that and go ahead and say those things out loud so that they know we are forever. That there's not a blizzard that's going to take you out of my family, right? And so those are some of the things that I would really encourage you to do. Y'all, this is really hard. We don't, this is ridiculousness on all sorts of levels. So if you're struggling, please just know that's normal. Please don't expect too much, and please just give yourself and your family so much grace right now. So focus on connection, focus on survival. It's gonna thaw eventually, and we're gonna be all right. I hope some of this stuff is helpful. If you've got other tips for other adoptive families, stick them in the comments. We'd love to hear them.